Just joined us, you're watching Business Morning, coming to you from the Transcorp Hill team here. You're welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching Business Morning, coming to you from the Transcorp Hill team in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, where the World Pension Summit for Africa is ongoing. It's the second day of the event, and a lot of deliberation have been going on, which a lot of issues which has to do with how to protect pensioners' money. How do you ensure that they get their emoluments as it when due? What are those areas that we can invest this pension funds, which is put at $25 billion at the moment? So a lot of issues have been discussed at this summit, and right now we've been joined on the program by the chairman of Seplat Petroleum Development Company. He is Bryant Ojako, popularly known as ABC Ojako. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for coming on the program. I want to start on this note. I was reading the stock market prices earlier on, and the price of Seplat dropped. What do you think would have happened?
You know, share prices are very susceptible to various variables in the market. I think what you must have seen, obviously we had our AGM recently, and the market reacted by that, and the share price gained about 3% within a few hours of that AGM. And it's not surprising that it goes down, but obviously what we are looking and focusing on is not just the ups and downs of the share price in terms of numbers, but as a company we remain focused on the real fundamentals that will continue to create sustainability and growth in value, both for capital appreciation and to focus on the profits and the growth that we've promised our investors. So it's not unexpected to see prices go up and down, but we remain focused on those fundamentals that will sustain the real substance and essence of our business.
Okay, the pension summit is ongoing, and a lot of issues which has to do with pension investment has been talked about at this forum, which is in relation to infrastructure. And people are of the view that this money that has been saved in trillions of naira should be used for investment purposes. What's your view about this?
I think, first of all, it's very important to say that to have the World Pension Summit holding in Nigeria for the first time is a good and great opportunity for the real impetus to be given to the essence of investing pension funds rightly. I think the pension fund in Nigeria has done tremendously well. We've heard about movement from a negative of over 2 trillion naira pre-2004 to over 4 trillion naira in 2014. That is a movement of over 6 trillion, which is very impressive. Now, one of the things that have been stressed is the security of these funds, and to make sure that the pensioners do not go back to what used to be the case, where they lose all of the efforts and sweat they've had over the years. Personally, I believe that one of the greatest achievements of the Obasanjo administration is to put in place the contributory pension fund, which the PENCOM has been driving. And it's also very gratifying that the Jonathan administration has continued to consolidate on this by the new bill they just passed. And having witnessed the summit, I think it's important that they're giving emphasis in the right things, and this is the areas of investment of the pension asset. I think the area of infrastructure, which we heard about yesterday, is extremely important. When you look at the infrastructure gap in Africa, in Nigeria, and look at the demographics of the continent, you find that having the right assets to invest in infrastructure is very, very important for our real sustainable development in the continent. For us as a company, we see that the pension asset investment finds good home in very good entities in the equity market. Therefore, when we did our IPO in April of this year, we saw a real solid participation by the pension fund, competing indeed with the international institutional investors. That is very impressive. And going forward, we believe that with the awareness that is being created, not only will that fund grow, we believe that they will find very credible investment outlay in the country and in the continent.
So do you look forward to having part of this fund being invested, especially in the oil and gas sector?
Well, obviously they are beginning to do that. Before we did our IPO, there was no real exploration and production presence in the Nigerian stock market. So when we did our very first pioneering presence in terms of listing in Nigeria and London simultaneously, there was no E&P company that was listed in Nigerian Stock Exchange. And the pension fund assets reacted positively and invested in that. We are going to be seeing more of those kind of investments going forward. Now, and of course, those kind of investments do find their way in infrastructure development, which we're doing as a company ourselves.
Now, the oil and gas sector is a capital-intensive sector.
Absolutely.
And a lot of banks look forward to doing business with you because know fully well that no matter the interest rate that they want to charge you, you would pay, like other parts, other sectors of the economy. But I just want to ask you this question. When you look at the oil and gas sector and the fact that it's a sector that has been developing since we discovered oil, a lot of companies are exploring in the country and still, whether upstream or downstream sector. What areas do you think that perhaps we need to develop our infrastructure using the pension funds if need be? What areas would you want monies to be invested in?
First of all, you're right. The oil and gas business is very capital intensive, but it's not totally correct that we'll accept any interest that the banks charge. No, we're very, very selective as to what cost of funds we take. And we're also always keeping our eye in the kind of distribution of investable capital we put in our business. Therefore, the oil and gas business and infrastructure, when you look at infrastructure gap today in Nigeria, I think the power infrastructure gap is huge. And to be able to fill that gap, the oil and gas sector has a major role to play. And as a company, we're doing that. We're investing very actively in gas. So the gas to power reform is one area that I believe that the pension fund will find the right and credible investment to put in their funds.
I know that all sectors of the economy have value chains that is meant to assist the major part of that industry. So if you look at the value chain that are in the oil and gas sector, what areas do you think should be supported in terms of investment opportunities?
I feel all the areas in oil and gas, particularly for the indigenous program, will need support. But today, the one that is staring everyone in the face is the gas development. Gas development because we need to fire our power plants and generate electricity. And the most important element for that is gas. Therefore, the support for gas development and gas infrastructure is key to that. And of course, if you go forward, government also need to be very proactive in what they do. Over the years, we've been hearing about the petroleum industry bill. I think the executive and the National Assembly have to take a decision as to what they would like to do with this bill. You should either pass it or withdraw it, because it's created quite a lot of uncertainties in the market and in the industry. And it's making a lot of investable capital find home elsewhere. And this must be addressed as quickly as possible.
Would you rather that they withdraw it or they should continue?
I think what they should do is to pass it as quickly as possible or withdraw it and remove the uncertainty in the sector.
Now, let's still dwell on the issue of infrastructure. I know that you were talking about the gas infrastructure, gas development that you're trying to do, not just your company, but others as well in this industry. How well are we planning, or have we protected our infrastructure? Because that has been a major issue. Some pipelines are vandalized, and yet to be repaired, and on and on. How well have you been able to do that in terms of protection of infrastructure?
Well, for us as a company, it's important to say that one of the first things we did was to ensure there is adequate security in all of our installations and infrastructure in our areas of operation. It is true that widespread vandalization of assets in the oil and gas has been ongoing for quite some time, and of course the oil theft. But in Seplat, what we did was to proactively engage the communities, and we've seen that with over 750 kilometers network of pipeline within our areas of operation. We don't have incidences of vandalization, thanks to the SEPLAT model of community engagement. We believe that other oil companies should replicate the same everywhere. Also, government on their part should also continue to consolidate what they are doing in terms of ensuring that the Niger Delta remains peaceful, and that will go a very long way in protecting these assets. Talking about the gas infrastructure, it's also true that there are a lot of gas pipelines are not susceptible to this vandalization. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the criminals know and they're aware of the danger of trying to vandalize the gas pipeline. So what is happening really is that the gas pipelines and gas infrastructure is very deficient in terms of supporting the required volume of gas to be delivered to the power plants. That is actually the main problem. If you look at the numbers today, Nigeria installed capacity about 6 gigawatts for electricity generation. Today, the capacity utilization is only about 3.5 to 4 gigawatts. And the government is planning to take this to 20 gigawatts in a very short time, and as well as increase this to 40. Now, if you look at the real gap in gas delivery, you're looking at today the capacity being about 2 BCF of gas per day, and to be able to achieve 40, we need well over 10 BCF of gas a day. So we can right there see the gap that exists that needs to be filled. And these are all the things that call for sustainable investment going forward.
Now, when we talk about, still dwelling on the issue of investment, if you look at the data from the Nigerian Stock Exchange, we've seen an increase in the number of local investors compared to foreign investors in the capital market now. But when we look at the oil and gas sector, how would you gauge the participation of investors, whether they're local or foreign? Are we seeing more interest from our own people, or are we still having a foreign dominance in the oil and gas sector?
I think I'll use our own experience. When we did our IPO, we found that it was almost a 50-50 thing, and it was very encouraging. The international institutional investors were very bullish with investing in our securities. We saw them taking about 52% of our IPO value, and the Nigerian actually made a very, very good showing during the IPO, and they took up over 48% of our IPO amount, and that was very encouraging.
Okay, you're listed, you've done a dual listing,
yes,
both on the Nigerian Stock Exchange and on the London Stock Exchange. Since your listing, what has been the level of involvement or participation of investors on your company?
Well, the participation, as I said, has been very encouraging. We've seen a lot of institutional investors participating. When we did this transaction, we found that it created a real avenue for quite a lot of investable equity capital that did not have the real entity in the upstream to invest, and they invested in us. And subsequently, we've also seen that the Nigerian investing community also found it a very attractive entity for investment. So it created a real good opportunity for Nigerians to participate in the wealth creation that SEPLAT represents. Okay,
on a final note, I'm going to let you go in a minute. Okay. I just want you to comment on the nitty-gritty of this, the 2014 pension bill that has been signed by the president, where employers are expected to contribute about 10% and I think employees 8%. What's your take on that?
I think, first of all, it's something to be very happy about. I think it's one of the fastest bills that has been passed recently. And I think the message is clear. Every Nigerian, both formal and informal sector, should participate in it. It's also very clear and very well put that pension fund assets are the right assets for investments. It is the thing that will ensure that those who retire do not go into squalor after putting in the better part of their life in it. So I think it's something to be encouraged. It is something that as many people as possible should participate. The new bill encourages even small businesses to participate. The real multiplier effect on the overall economy will be very, very gratifying, and it's something to be encouraged.
All right, thank you. At this point, I'd like to thank you for coming on Business Morning. We do appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
I've been talking to Brian Ojekola. He is the CEO, or rather the chairman of Seplat Petroleum Development Company, also known as ABC Ojoko, and we've been looking at the issue of investment in infrastructure, where the clamor has been on for the over $25 billion that we have in terms of pension contribution to be channeled into investment in order to increase the value of that money. We'll go on a break, and when we come back, we'll bring you more on the program.